Welcome to This Isn't a Confession. My name is Dominique, but a lot of people that know me call me Dom. I've been trying to record this video for a long time. I kept thinking, okay, maybe it's YouTube, right? Like, I don't know how to work YouTube. I thought it was like, okay, maybe it's my confidence. Maybe it's because I don't have all the equipment. Maybe it's because I'm a Virgo and I, wanted it to be perfectionism. I was like, oh, the timing's not right. What are people going to think about what I'm going to be talking about? Like fear of judgment. But when I really sat and thought about everything, it wasn't that all of those things. It was that I finally realized that what was holding me back wasn't that I was afraid of YouTube. It wasn't fear of judgment. It wasn't whatever, I guess. I was afraid to be seen. And I realized that much of my personality was built around surviving emotional abandonment and humiliation. And that was the hardest thing for me to say out loud. Because most people see me as confident. Most people see me as intimidating. Most people see me as strong. Most people see me as self-assured. All of these things. But internally, I was carrying a younger version of myself that felt abandoned, that felt unsafe, that felt afraid of being rejected. And I'm finally ready to talk about it. So like I said, most people think that, I'm confident and, I'm intimidating and I'm strong and, I don't care about what people think, and I have this, thick skin and, all of these labels, but that isn't the truth. The truth is that I feel very deeply. Rejection hurts me deeply. Criticism hurts me deeply. When it's not constructive, because what I want to make clear is that we do need feedback, but it needs to be constructive, not criticism. There's a difference. Humiliation hurts me deeply. Being misunderstood hurts me deeply, and I created this emotional armor that I think misrepresented me, and I did it not even realizing that I was doing it. And so I developed this don't play with me energy, this don't disrespect me energy, don't cross me energy. And while part of that energy is real because, big standing on business, okay, but part of that energy was also survival. Underneath all of, that, I am actually very sensitive. Most people be like, oh, they'll say soft. And, a lot of people don't want to be considered soft. And that's okay. You can replace it with sensitive if you like, because that's what I'm replacing it with, because I connect more to the term sensitive than soft, because, and we'll get into that. But, I'm also very loving. I'm also very nurturing. I'm also very caring. I'm emotionally deep. I'm expressive. I would like to think I'm funny, okay? But I became afraid of showing those parts of me. And because of, when I would do that, I felt criticized by people. I felt rejected by people. I felt excluded by people. I would, felt humiliated by people. I felt emotionally attacked by people. And over time, I had to learn how to shrink myself, not completely, but just enough to survive socially. And So what people would see was they would see my armor, which is confident and strong and intimidating and all of those things that we just talked about. They never saw that the armor was actually me protecting myself. So the biggest realization for me came from my relationship patterns, especially through situationships. I had to ask myself a hard question. I was like, Dom, why do you keep choosing these emotionally unavailable dynamics? Why do you keep choosing people that you cannot fully have? Why are you craving intimacy but running from visibility? Like, girl, it's not making sense. You know what I'm saying? And the answer broke my heart because I realized that I did want love deeply. I do want intimacy. I do want emotional closeness. I want to feel chosen. I want to feel emotionally safe. But being fully visible scared me. Because I was afraid that somebody, if somebody fully saw me, they would reject me. They would humiliate me. They would abandon me. They would make me feel emotionally unsafe. Honestly, like situationships just felt the safest, because, okay, I could stay halfway visible, like I could stay halfway vulnerable. I could stay halfway committed. Like, I just like just enough to where once I'm being seen or once all of those things, it's like, no, fall back. We're not in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't true. That wasn't what I really wanted. And so unfortunately, situationships became a safer option. And I can experience a connection without having to fully surrender emotionally. And that's, when I realized, like, I'm tired of hiding. I got tired. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got tired of it because I was dealing with this guy who all my friends know about this. My family don't know about this situationship, but all my friends know about this person. And I actually really liked him, and he actually triggered the awakening for me to wanting to be seen. But he was just so emotionally unavailable that I realized that's what helped me want to be seen, because my emotions, my care and my love for him, triggered it made me go within and be why am I in this connection? That connection just really, really exhausted me to the point where it got me here. Where I'm realizing no, I do want to be seen. I do want to feel safe. I do want intimacy. I do want closeness. I do want emotional depth, because he could not show me that to the point where it really he mirrored me, is what I'm just basically saying. And it woke me right up. And so that's when I realized I didn't want to hide anymore. I did want to be seen. I just didn't feel safe enough to allow it. So it wasn't that I was hiding because I didn't want visibility. I was hiding because I was afraid of what visibility might bring. Okay, if these people see my true heart, if they see that I'm actually really sensitive and I like to laugh, I like to dance, I like to joke, I like to do all these things, and if they see me for who I am, are they going to reject me? Are they going to humiliate me? Are they going to try to criticize me to where it puts me back in a box? So now, like I said, I'm I'm ready to be seen. One of the biggest moments that shaped me as a child was on Easter, back in the early 2000s. I'm originally from Dayton, Ohio, and that's where like all my family was. But my parents moved me and my sibling to another city an hour away. An hour or so away from Dayton. And so on holidays and weekends and things like that, summer camps, I was always in Dayton, Ohio. Specifically over my dad's mother's house, my granny. And that's the main granny that I, was raised by, and like just even being around those cousins and stuff. And we were like, in my family, on my dad's side, we were raised like siblings. And so like me and my cousins, and my father is the youngest of 6. So for me, it was fun growing up because I was the only girl in my family. So I would be down there with all of my cousins. They got to see each other every day. I only got to see them on the weekends or holidays, like I said. So it was one Easter weekend, and my mom's mom, and I want to say this before I get into this story. I am sharing my story so that we can grow together. And so with that being said, I will respectfully ask that you keep your comments to yourself when it comes to my family, or you will be blocked and removed. Straight up. Me sharing this about myself is to help us all heal together, help us unlearn patterns and behaviors that I'm sharing might be similar to you. So let's just keep it cute, keep it respectful. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Those are kindergarten, preschool rules that you learn. Thank you. So anyway, it was one Easter Sunday, and my Granny Hoskins, my dad's mom, she had everybody at her house. I'm talking about all my cousins was there, all my aunts and uncles, all my dad's cousins, like everybody was there. We were turned, like it was so much fun. And my mom, she ended up going to her mom's house, and like she ended up leaving and going over to her mom's house because she had to cook Easter dinner for her mom and her sister. Now, one of my mom's sister has mental health issues, and so she physically cannot take care of herself. She's schizophrenic. She has to have, someone take care of her. And so she lived with my granny. And so my dad kept telling me, like, we gotta go over to your other granny house. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go over there. Like, everybody over here, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a kid. I'm like between the ages, this is what I can remember. I'm between the ages of like 8 and 10. And I'm like, no, ask mommy if I can stay over here, like, and he's like, so he called my mom, put my mom on the phone, and my mom was on the phone, and I'm like, mommy, can I please stay over here? I was like, everybody over here. I'm telling her, like, my cousins are over here, and, like, and I could hear my granny in the background, like, yelling. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you need to come over here, and that's when and then my mom was like, no, y'all got to come over here. And so I'm like, fine. So I was like a little upset because I was playing, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm outside with my cousins, like, you feel me? So, me and my dad, we got in the car and we went over to my granny house. And when I walked in, I'm talking about, I wasn't even in the door good enough, okay? And I walk in, I look around, because I'm very observant, and my granny sitting in the chair, my mom's in the kitchen, and my auntie was in her room, but her door was open. And my dad goes and sits on the couch, like, further, away. And so I'm talking about, I wasn't even in the house good enough. You know what I'm saying? And my granny just starts going off on me and telling me how I act just like them Hoskins, and just saying all these like horrible things about me, and how like basically, just was basically saying, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it, but this might be a little triggering for y'all. And so, again, like I said, I just want to make sure that you guys understand where I'm coming from. But anyway, she called me out my name. She called me a B word multiple times and was telling me I needed to get out of her house and go back over there with them Hoskins, and that I act just like them Hoskins, and belittling me in front of, and humiliating me in front of my parents and my aunt. And she was cussing at me, yelling, at me, and she told me to get out her house. Now, in the midst of her yelling at me and cussing at me, I'm over here trying to explain myself to my granny, you know what I'm saying, my mom's mom. And I'm trying to tell her, like, it wasn't that I didn't want to come over here to see her. It was just that I was having fun playing with my cousins, but she didn't care. She took offense to that and called me a B. And when you're between that age range, like, it's hard to comprehend. Like, you think like, oh, dang, like, me wanting to like play was wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting, abused because I wanted to stay and play with my cousins. So of course, because like I said, I'm very sensitive, I'm over here crying my eyes out. I look at my dad and I look at my mom. My dad, he just watching TV, didn't say anything. I'm looking at my mom. She's just chopping up the vegetables, not saying anything. And so at this point, I'm standing at her front door and she's continuously yelling and calling me out my name and cussing at me, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And she was like, get out my house, like that. So I'm still trying to explain myself, because I'm like, I have never been talked to like that at that point in my life. So it was very traumatizing for me. And so, I, run out of her house, slam the door, and I run to the curb. And y'all, those little cicada bugs? I remember, and that's how this what I'm trying to tell y'all. This story is very like traumatizing for me, because this is what really shaped me. I run and go sit on the curb, and I never seen how ugly a cicada was in real life. Like, they look like an alien with wings. Like, it's crazy. And so I'm crying, staring at the cicadas on the curb, and I'm hearing them in the trees and stuff. And like, I slowly feel anger building. Like, I literally was rising from the pits of my stomach. And I sat on that curb, crying my eyes out. Like I said, I felt rejected. I felt abandoned by my parents. And I felt unwanted by my grandma. Like, dang, like, why are you calling me out my name? Like, I'm a kid. Like, it was never that deep that you needed to do that. Like, that's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a child. Like, dang, I'm getting punished. This is how I'm thinking in my head. I'm getting punished for wanting to play. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, y'all, that's the moment that changed me. That's the moment when I stopped expecting people to protect me. That was the day that I was like, from here on out, I'm protecting myself. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care who the person is. I don't care how old the person is. And that sadness turned into anger. And that vulnerability became defensive. All that explaining myself, and you know what I'm saying? That truth became survival. Well, that little girl grew up, but those wounds grew with her. And those wounds started showing up everywhere, in friendships, in relationships, in dating, in conflict, in the way that I interpreted people's behavior. I internalized everything. If somebody rejected me, I internalized it. If somebody criticized me, I internalized it. If somebody, acted weird towards me, I internalized it. Everything became personal. Why don't they like me? What did I do wrong? You know what I'm saying? Why am I being rejected? You know what I'm saying? Why are they acting jealous towards me? Like, things like that. Like, I just internalized everything that people did. I just made it about me. I became super hyper vigilant. I became defensive. I also became controlling. I became emotionally reactive. And I pushed a lot of people away before they could actually abandon me. And I built a lot of emotional walls, and I cut a lot of people off. I isolated myself. I controlled my environments. I controlled access to me. I just, anything that I could control, I would. And looking back on everything, a lot of my anger was actually fear. I said fear of being rejected by people, fear of being humiliated by people, fear of abandonment, fear of not being loved, all of the things. I mean, this is real time for me, so I'm talking in real time right now. That's why I'm looking around and stuff like that. But I just was reacting to the present. I wasn't reacting to the present. I was reacting to the past. And looking back on everything, I'm like, man, that's crazy that I literally sat here and a lot of that, y'all, it got me in a lot of drama. Mainly that was the biggest thing, was a lot of drama and a lot of time being wasted. That's the biggest, I think that's one of the biggest consequences that, I'm still processing. Is wow, all of that drama I was in, all of that just chaos and just all of the things that comes with being controlling, what I'm saying? People, I was karmic. I was. All right. So this is the part where I had to be honest with my own behavior to even create This Isn't a Confession. Survival mode helped me survive, but I also hurt a lot of people as well. There were times where, I became emotionally reactive. I became dismissive. Like I said, controlling. And this one was hard for me to accept, but I became emotionally unavailable. There was times where I would lash out. I matched energy. I blocked people. I shut people out. And it's not because I wanted to hurt people. I really want to be clear about that. And, it wasn't that, my goal in life was to hurt people and, wanted people to feel how I felt. Because there are people out there like that. I just didn't know how to feel safe while being vulnerable. And I really want people to know that. Like, I did not have those skills, because you have to think about it. I was a kid when all of this happened. Like I said, I was between the ages 8 and 10. And I also was abandoned by my parents in that moment. So while I was sitting on that curb, I started learning how to protect myself. I started gathering resources to protect myself. And the resources that I gathered were not safe for me, because I couldn't process my emotions safely. And I also did not, gather resources that allowed me to not internalize other people's behavior towards me. So that pain shaped my behavior, and I'm not proud of it. And this is not an excuse to any of the behavior that I ever displayed. And if anyone is ever watching this, then they, know me growing up, things like that. Like, I'm not making this as an excuse. It's never an excuse to hurt people. But I didn't know that subconsciously during my lifetime that all of that was happening, that I was acting that way, behaving that way. It was subconscious behavior. And I'm now taking accountability, bringing it consciously to the forefront, so that, one, my wounds explain my actions, but they don't excuse them. And so, sorry, I had to take a deep breath on that one. My healing now looks a little bit different. I'm learning how to pause before reacting. When people criticize me now, I'll use work for an example. I personally feel misrepresented sometimes as an African American woman in the workforce, especially in my profession. But and it's no shade to my job. It's just it's natural. I think when people when they don't have like a similar background of you, they can't. And it's not even just work, it's anybody. Like, they will misrepresent your communication, your nonverbals and things like that. Like, that's just because they don't understand you. And when you don't understand yourself, you misrepresent yourself, and you're giving people room to do that. So for me, when people criticize me now, instead of being defensive, right, I pause now. I take a step back, and is there some truth to what they're saying? You know what I'm saying? I really try to sit and think about it. Like, I really try to think about, people's behavior now before I even respond to it, and, healing also is learning how to regulate my nervous system, when I am in high tense situations where it's very triggering for me, that wound, I, do things to regulate. I take deep breaths. I, whatever I have to do, I journal. I just do a lot of different things. But the biggest thing that I really am learning, because I'm actively unlearning the things about my subconscious behavior. But the biggest thing for me now is learning how to communicate. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Like, what I mean by that is, okay, when people are criticizing me or saying things about me that are not true, like directly to me, right? Like I said, I reflect, I pause, and I'm like, okay, is there some truth to it? Okay, did I misrepresent myself? And then I go to that person, I tell them like, hey, like, okay, you said this, and I want to make sure that you understand that that was not the intent that I had. And I want to make sure that, it was because of this, this, and this, because I also, and it's not all the time, I'm not always defending myself. It's just only when I feel misrepresented. Because I think it's important that, I'm representing myself the best way possible. So if I'm doing something and someone says something that feels sharp or, is criticism, I want to make sure that those are learnings for me. Like, you said this, but like, I didn't intend to come across that way. So, and it helps that person understand too, like, oh, like she's just genuinely making a comment. You know what I mean? When people, I want to say one more thing about the communication piece. When people, because this is what a lot of people do and they don't realize they do this, but a lot of people project, and when they do, so I'll give you an example. Everybody's doing YouTube, right? Everybody's doing all of these things, right? And people will be like, oh, we had this, there's a scenario where a girl said that, I was trying to copy her with my YouTube channel. I could have got salty about it and I could have addressed that person about it, but I didn't, because you want to know why? That's her opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I going to do? Argue with her because of her opinion? No, I'm not doing that. That's the thing. That's where I'm saying I'm healing my communication. A lot of times when people say things, it's really their opinion. And you can evaluate if you value that opinion or not. But if you don't value that opinion, beat it. Have a good day. Like, okay, that's your opinion, and, move on. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a really big one for me, because that really went back to the whole thing, like with the story of my granny, of like trying to explain myself and justify, when really it's like, well, yes, there were some things that she said, obviously, but saying like, oh, I act just like them Hoskins, that's her opinion. I don't need to fight that, but I was a kid and I didn't know that. But now as an adult, I do know that. And I'm really proud of myself, y'all. Like, I really am, because it took a lot for me to get to that perspective, to get to be, mindful enough, to be open-minded enough to accept that a lot of people are just going to give you their opinions. And it's up to me to weigh if it matters or not. And if it doesn't matter, have a good day. You know what I'm saying? And then also, this was a huge one. Boundaries. Learning healing also meant for me to, learning boundaries instead of walls. That's huge. And then also just like discernment instead of hypervigilant. That's another one. And then what else? This is a big one. Outside of communication and boundaries and discernment. This is a big one. My healing also meant that I needed to learn that other people's behavior, and come here, friend. Come. Okay? Other people's behavior does not equate your self-worth. The biggest lesson that I reflected back on when I became aware of my root, my main root, was other people's behavior does not equate to my self-worth. Because, like I mentioned earlier, I internalized everything. I controlled everything. I made everything about me. This person said that, my hair was ugly. It's like, why is she saying that about me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, no. And that's why I said with the communication thing, like, people are going to say their opinions. People are allowed to have their opinions. People are going to criticize you. People are going to reject you. People are going to isolate you. People are going to do all of those things. But that does not mean it has anything to do with your self-worth and your identity. And that was the biggest thing. I really had to humble myself and take a step back and be like, wow, like, that's crazy that, like, I was, like, giving people that much power over my worth. Like, it's crazy. And we're going to get into that in these different episodes and stuff. So I hope that you guys like, comment, and subscribe, because I'm so excited to dive through all of the wounds that I've learned through this whole journey that I've experienced in my first solo return, now in my second. And I just stay tuned. So anyway, today I want something different. I don't want to ramble too much because I do have structured episodes that I don't know right now how I'm going to be posting them. I want to try to do it weekly, but we'll see. But that's my goal. Not weekly, maybe like bi-weekly. So yeah, once I can get in my rhythm, now that, like, I'm dropping this video after I really figured out, like, what's been holding me back, I'll be able to figure out the cadence and let you guys know. But the shift is, today I realized that I want peace, okay? I want softness. I want authenticity. I want intimacy. I want emotional safety. I want a real relationship. I want real connections, real friendships. And I want to fully be seen. Like, I'm ready. It's like, I'm really cool in real life. Like, that's at least, like, that's what I think. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? I do a lot of cool things. I like to read. I do a lot of, like, cool things, And I think that I should share that with y'all. And so I'm done shrinking myself to, I'm done hiding. I'm done, performing. And honestly, y'all, I'm done surviving. It's exhausting. Dang, I have all this gray hair. Let me see. You can see a little bit. But I don't mind it, though, because it's wisdom. It really is. Like, you look back like, dang, like, I was letting y'all stress me out. That's crazy. I'm not letting y'all stress me out no more. I don't care what y'all got to say. Like, say what you got to say, girl, boy, man, woman, whoever. Okay, did you got it off your chest? You feel better? Huh? Exactly. Like, no, I don't care no more. Nobody's doing all of that. It's exhausting, friend. It's time to unlearn those wounds, those roots that shaped our personalities and prevented us from being seen. Healing doesn't mean being, and I'm not laughing at y'all. I'm laughing at myself. That's why I'm a Sagittarius rising, so y'all be laughing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Things like, I just be laughing, But healing doesn't also mean like I'm this new person. All of those things did happen to me. All of the things I've done did happen. You know what I'm saying? I can't unsee that. I can't unexperience that. I can't undo those things. I did those things. Those things happened to me. And I'm not, someone new. I'm just a person who's deciding to take accountability. But healing also for me is becoming, who I was before the survival took over. I feel like that, like when I sat back and thought about a lot of this, I shedded so many tears. Like, that's the thing. I'm talking about snot coming out my nose. I cried so hard. My eyes were red for 2 whole days. Like, real talk. I didn't even go outside because my eyes were so red, and I was grieving. I was grieving the fact that that wound robbed me from being my true authentic self. And it was just really, really hurtful, really, really hurtful. And so I'm back to who I want to be, slowly but surely, not want to be, but who I was destined to be. And it's a little uncomfortable, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. And so that's the purpose of my channel, is it's bigger than content for me. It's choosing to be visible, to be able to help people out there that may have experienced similar things like I did, and you know, maybe took the path of survival that maybe, you know, created wounds, you know, self-inflicted wounds, and, you know, experiences that you're not proud of. And, you know, I am, you know, this channel is me choosing authenticity, is me choosing to heal. And so if you feel like this resonates with you, I welcome you to come on in. Come in, friend, have a seat. But just know that, like, I'm going to be as authentic as possible with y'all. I'm going to be healing with y'all in real time. And like, this is big for me because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like, I've always known that I was supposed to like help people. I just was blocked energetically. And so feel free to grab your journal, write things down. And you know, just know that, like, you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. Many of us built identities around pain. I'm one of them. Many of us built identities around survival. I'm one of them. And so awareness changes that. And so that's really what my channel is going to be about, is helping you become more self-aware of your experiences and wounds and things like that, to help you unlearn some of those things, to help you forgive yourself for some of those, for things. And I'm going to just be doing that through explaining different wounds and my experience with them, and reflection and things like that. So this is the beginning for me. This is the beginning of my healing. It took so long to get here, but I'm here, and I'm your friend. And I know everybody say, oh, they're your friend on the internet, but no, I'm really your friend. You can tell me everything. Drop it in the comments, or I'll leave my email. Y'all can shoot me an email. We can chat about it. You know what I'm saying? But this is the beginning of my healing. This is the beginning of my visibility. And this isn't a confession. This is just the beginning of who I am becoming after survival mode. Okay, love you, bye.